Okay, so ready to dive in. Today we're taking a look at Psalm 49.
From the New Living Translation.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And it really struck me how this ancient text, from so long ago, really kind of hits on these themes that are still so relevant to us today, like wealth
Mm-hmm.
and wisdom.
Yeah.
And of course the one thing that we all have in common.
Mortality.
Exactly.
Death. The big one.
Yeah. And so our mission today is to really see what this psalm can teach us, about navigating life today.
I think that's a great goal. And it is interesting, like you said, how much resonates, even though this is coming from centuries ago.
Right.
This psalm is attributed to the descendants of Korah.
Okay.
And it starts with this really powerful invitation. It says, listen to this, all you people. Pay attention, everyone in the world, high and low, rich and poor, listen.
Wow.
Right.
It's like everyone. It's for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not speaking to a select group. It's really saying this message is for everyone, no exceptions.
Yeah. It's like a town crier or something, stepping up and being like, hey, gather round. This concerns you.
Right.
And then and it's so interesting how the psalmist kind of goes on and says, hey, I've got wisdom. I've got these insights, drawn from Proverbs, those wise old sayings.
Right, exactly.
And even inspired by music.
Yeah.
And I think, as we're reading this, it really makes you wonder where we find our own kind of grounding principles.
That's such a good point. Like where do we get our wisdom from?
Yeah.
And what's fascinating too is how quickly the focus shifts to, things that I think we still struggle with today, which is, our anxiety about money and also the fact that our time here is limited.
Right.
So the question in verse 5, about why should we fear those who trust in their wealth, like I think that still echoes today.
Totally. I mean, we see it, in our culture, like there's so much emphasis on financial success.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so I think, let's unpack what the core argument here is. The psalmist is pretty clear, that the money can't buy you out of, death.
Right.
Like it just can't.
It can't. That's the ultimate limit.
Yeah.
No matter, how much you accumulate.
Right. Like verses 7 and 8 just state it so plainly that, no one can pay enough to live forever and avoid the grave.
It's a stark reminder.
Yeah.
of the ultimate limit of earthly riches.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's so interesting too that this idea, it's an equalizer.
Right.
Like verse 10 points out, it's like wise or foolish, rich or poor, everybody's,
Everyone eventually dies.
Yeah.
And leaves their wealth behind. It's a shared destiny that I think we often just don't like to think about.
Yeah. We push it aside.
Yeah.
We don't want to face it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then it's so interesting how the psalm then goes on to touch on this idea of like how we try to make our mark on the world. Mm-hmm. Like even naming, estates after ourselves. But verse 12, I think, really, really kind of delivers a punch.
It does.
Because it's saying that this kind of fame,
doesn't last.
it just doesn't last.
Yeah.
And that we ultimately end up like, animals.
It puts it in stark terms, doesn't it?
It does.
It really does.
And I think it really makes you think about like what kind of legacy,
Mm-hmm.
truly matters.
That's such a good point. Like what is it that we want to leave behind?
Yeah.
And is it about, earthly recognition, which is so fleeting, or is there something deeper?
And I think, the psalm is really kind of pushing us towards, looking for something deeper.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this part here that kind of, for me, takes a bit of a turn. Verses 14 and 15, they paint this picture of being led to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this contrasting hope.
Right.
Of being rescued from its power.
Yes.
And it's like it suggests a security.
Right.
That goes beyond what we can accumulate here.
Exactly. And I think that's a really crucial point because it's pointing to a different kind of security.
Yeah.
A security that's not tied to, material possessions or earthly status or any of that.
Absolutely. And then it kind of leads to this advice that we find in verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
where it says, don't be upset, when the wealthy get richer.
Right.
And it's like, why shouldn't we be upset?
Well, I think because as verse 17 says, they can't, take it with them.
Right.
Right.
All that wealth, all that stuff doesn't follow them.
Yeah. It's left behind.
It's left behind. So, what is it really worth in the end?
Right. And I think it's such a powerful perspective shift. It's urging us to not be swayed by these outward displays of prosperity.
Less than good, exactly.
And then the psalm concludes, by bringing us back to this idea that those who are rich but lack this understanding are ultimately no better off than
animals.
Yeah.
It's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it makes you think about what truly constitutes, a meaningful life.
It does. It does. So, the key takeaway that we have from this deep dive into Psalm 49 is this, wealth has its limits.
Yes.
Death is universal. And we're really being encouraged to think about what has lasting value beyond, the material.
Yes. And the temporary.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think, this really raises a crucial question for you listening.
Yeah.
How does this ancient wisdom challenge our modern obsession with success and financial security?
What does it truly mean to live wisely, knowing that our time is finite?
Yeah.
It's definitely something worth considering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Psalm 49.
Viva.